You could save tens of thousands of dollars going to Mexico for dental work, but you could also make a very expensive mistake. So I flew to Cancun to find out. Some of my clients have literally spent over $40,000, $50,000 of biological dentists in the US. Zirconia implants, root canal cleanups, amalgam filling removal. I almost paid $4,000 for my own minor dental work here, but I ended up paying only $400 in Mexico. When I found a clinic in Cancun offering the same procedures for a fraction of the cost, I had two major questions. Is it legit? And more importantly, is it safe? If it's not, it could turn into a nightmare real fast. I've now been to the same Cancun clinic twice, 2 separate trips. I've researched multiple other clinics, and I talked to a lot of people who've done this dental tourism thing. And this video is all about my experience and what I have found. First thing, let's talk about cost, because that's why anybody looks into dental tourism. When you see the numbers side by side, it becomes crystal clear why people look into this. This chart right here is why people get on a plane. Let's look at a few differences here. A single implant in the US, you're looking at around $6,000 with a biological dentist. Now, if you go to Cancun, same procedures, it's about $1,600. That's like 70% difference. What if you need a full mouth restoration? Well, in the US, that can easily run you $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. In Cancun, $25,000 or so. Tens of thousands of dollars saved. Now, something in my world that people are concerned about, amalgam filling removal, removing the silver fillings. In the US, it's like $200 to $600 per tooth. In Cancun, you're talking $60 per tooth. And yes, they even use the SMART procedure for amalgam removal that biological dentists use in the US. Cosmetic work, like I had done, veneers, you're paying upwards $1,000 a tooth in the US versus $400 in Cancun. So yeah, the price difference is very real. But the really surprising part is you can often get part or all of the treatment reimbursed by your insurance, even if the work is done in Mexico. And I'll show you the exact reimbursement form I submitted to my insurance later on in the video. But even if you add up the flights, the hotel stay, the savings are still massive. You can fly to Cancun. It was only a 3-hour flight for me. Stay at a resort for a week, get dental work done, and still spend less than you would in the US. By the way, I also put together a free dental tourism guide that includes the cost comparisons, the clinics I researched, the exact list of questions I asked before booking a clinic. And you don't even have to give me your email address. It's a totally free opt-in. I also included the best cheap places to stay if you really want to turn this into a budget experience. And I'm also giving you the Facebook groups that I personally joined when I first started exploring this. Okay, now that I had 2 whole separate trips there, I feel confident to share my experience with you. And I'm going to be honest, and I don't mean to be offensive. When I first thought about dental tourism, just subconsciously, I just immediately pictured a small clinic in a back alley somewhere. I just assumed that the US clinics would always have better standards, or usually better standards, usually better technology, probably overall better care. But I can tell you, I was dead wrong. Cancun has an entire industry built around dental tourism as well. Thousands of people flock there every year specifically for cheaper dental work. And since my dental health was already pretty good, I just needed a few things done. This gave me a real chance to test this for myself without taking a huge risk. And it started with an old veneer that I had, and it chipped. I got it fixed by my local dentist. I thought it'd be an easy fix, but it didn't look good at all. You can see here in a screenshot of a video that I did, my teeth were looking way off. And I'm like, what the heck's going on with my teeth? And then it chipped again. So I got it fixed again, same dentist, and he did a composite veneer, but it was not looking good. And heck, you could even look at this, the darn color of the composite was even darker, and it just made my whole smile look bad. And at that point I was like, okay, I need to redo this and I need to get it done well. Okay, what does Cancun really have to offer? So I narrowed it down to 3 different clinics: Prime Advanced Dentistry, Cancun Dental Specialist, and A1 Smile in Playa del Carmen. So which one did I pick? I chose Prime Advanced Dentistry. But let me be honest, all 3 clinics that I researched and looked into are top tier, high ratings, good patient reports, strong reputations. I would go to any of those 3 for sure. And let me tell you, once I chose Prime, from the start of that experience, it just felt different. They coordinated everything around my trip. They were trying to be so helpful to make it as smooth as possible. They were talking about When can we pick you up from the airport? They were going to pick me up from the airport. They were going to drop me off. Rides to every appointment. They were going to have a driver for me. They even suggested a few low-cost places to stay right by the clinic if I needed to. But since I was there for a vacation, I already had my resort picked out and booked, so I didn't need that help there. But every morning of my appointment, once I was there, I'd get a WhatsApp message. The driver was there. Hey, your driver's on his way. And when I walked outside, there he was, and he knew my name. So it was very, very warm and very much I felt taken care of. On my first ride to the clinic, I met another patient. She was in the van and she just had multiple teeth extracted. She was definitely in pain. She had a mouthful of gauze, but she was in good spirits. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, people are really coming here and getting major dental work done. I got to the clinic after about a 15-minute car ride, and this is the moment that it all shifted from my idea of back alley clinics. It was modern. It was clean. The staff were super welcoming. Honestly, it was nicer than the dental offices I've been to in the US. It was not a rundown clinic in a back alley. And as I walked in, I saw a couple people that I had recently seen posting in the Facebook group I was in for Cancun dentists. So that set me at ease to see a couple familiar faces. So they started the process with full imaging, cone beam scan, CBCT, digital x-rays. They took photos, and you can see my full x-ray here. And you can see my before smile here. And now you can see the after. No major work, but they removed that old composite veneer and they gave me 2 new porcelain veneers with no shaving down of my teeth. And it really turned my dated work that I had back in the US years ago into a much prettier smile for much less money than I would have paid in the US. I'm still happy with them over a year later, 0 issues whatsoever with them. They also followed up with me after that. Many times they called, they sent me emails just to make sure everything was going okay. So naturally, I wanted to go back. Now, if you care at all about your health, you probably looked into holistic dental options or biological dentistry for implants, root canals, and those types of things. So this brings up an important question. Does the type of dentist matter? Is Mexico an option for those who want something like a biological dentist? Biological dentists are going to look at your whole body, your whole health. They're going to try to reduce systemic stress using safer materials, safer protocols. There are organizations like the IAOMT that train dentists in things like the safe mercury removal, like biocompatible materials, like ozone therapy, like PRF. And early on in my practice, I used to send people exclusively to biological dentists. But over time, I started noticing something. People were spending tons and tons of money on dental work, and they weren't always getting the best outcomes. And that really changed how I look at this. Certification does not guarantee skill. I've seen certified biological dentists cut corners, and I've seen non-certified dentists do excellent biological style type of work. A good example of this is in the smart amalgam removal procedure. It's a protocol designed for removing mercury fillings, your silver fillings, so it reduces the exposure to the patient and the staff whenever they're doing that. Now, I had a patient once personally, and they went to a dentist listed on the IAOMT website who claimed to follow the SMART protocol. But when we reviewed what actually happened during her appointment, they had skipped a couple steps. So just because a dentist has the certification doesn't mean that every procedure is going to follow the protocol perfectly. So what matters more is experience, attention to detail, and execution, not just a logo on a website. And this is where Mexico really surprised me, because the clinic I went to offered almost everything that you would expect from a biological dentist. They do offer zirconia non-metal implants. They do the smart amalgam removal. They use ozone. They do PRF. That's why I now recommend asking any dentist, certified or not, exactly what their protocol is for the treatment you're getting. If you do that, even a non-certified dentist with strong experience can be an excellent option for you. Now, are dentists in Mexico less qualified? Honestly, it just depends on the clinic. There are highly trained dentists in Mexico, many trained internationally, and just like in the US, there are great dentists and not so great ones, and you got to find them. For example, in places like Cancun, implants are a huge part of the clinic's business. So some dentists there are performing these procedures every single day. Now, does that automatically make them better? No, but higher volume can really mean more experience and better outcomes. So the real question is, how do you find a good clinic and how do you avoid a bad one? Here are a few things I would look for when looking for a clinic. First, real patient experiences, Join those Facebook groups like I talked about. Look for patterns. I've already done some of that work for you, so you can start with that and double check that for yourself. Second, I'd ask the right questions. A few big questions I would ask, especially if you're getting major work, is do they use CBCT scans, cone beam scans for planning their implants? Do they place implants guided or freehand? How many procedures do they do each year? How long will it take you to recover? How long do you need to stay in Mexico? They should answer those questions for you exactly. Many procedures require you staying in Cancun for several days or even doing a couple trips. Cosmetic work, like I had done, that's only going to take 1 or 2, maybe 3 appointments, while implants are going to involve a few appointments months apart. And another major question you need to ask, what happens if something goes wrong after you get home? You want a clinic that's organized, responsive to all of your questions, and experienced. A good clinic will also provide your digital records, your x-rays, your treatment summaries, so you can share with your local dentist if any small adjustments are made once you get home. And honestly, it's really how they're communicating to you through this whole process that's going to tell you more than anything. Okay, let's talk about implants, since implants are the main reason most people look into dental tourism because it's the biggest cost savings. These procedures are less than half of the cost of US prices. They have what's called all-on-4 or all-on-6 implants. And what it is instead of replacing every single tooth individually, an entire row of teeth is supported by 4 implants or 6 implants. And you may need to look into implants if you have lost many teeth, you have many failed root canals or many extracted teeth. If you wear dentures and you want something more permanent, you have moderate bone loss, all of this you can be a candidate for getting the all-on-4 or the all-on-6. Something surprising I heard from people in the US is that they were told they don't have enough bone for implants. And so they just thought they could never get an implant in the US. But then they go to Mexico and they end up getting successfully treated there because these clinics specialize in these implant cases. Another misconception about these procedures is that you must be fully put under general anesthesia. And that really freaks people out, of course, when you're in another country. But in many cases, that's not necessary. Implant treatments are often performed under sedation combined with local anesthesia. That means you're deeply relaxed, but you are breathing on your own and you're not under full general anesthesia. Also, you need to keep in mind the timeline of the implant procedure. The teeth that you get at first are usually temporary. So if you're considering implants, you need to understand that you're going to probably be required to go back more than 1 visit. Can your insurance cover this? A lot of people assume that if you go abroad, you go outside the US, insurance is definitely not going to cover anything, but that is not always the case. It wasn't the case for me either. Many dental insurance plans will reimburse out-of-network procedures even if they were performed outside the country. This is exactly what I personally did. You can see my reimbursement form that I submitted right here. Prime filled out the services for me, the diagnosis codes, and the amount being requested to be reimbursed. All I had to do, take this document, submit it to my insurance, gave them my receipt that I paid for it, and then I got reimbursed. I was actually reimbursed for the majority of the treatment. My out-of-pocket cost was like $300-400 for the dental work I had on my first visit. Most reputable dental tourism clinics are going to be very familiar with this process and they can help you prepare the paperwork easily. Okay, let's wrap it up with the pros and the cons. To circle back to the looming question posed at the beginning, is dental tourism safe and is it legit? I can confidently say that with a reputable clinic, it absolutely is safe and it absolutely is legitimate. So the upside is you can save a significant amount of money. You're getting modern technology, a very streamlined experience. Some clinics even offer warranties or will work with you if something needs to be adjusted and you need to come back. Honestly, the hospitality alone was much better than the US clinics I've been to, so that was a huge factor. Transportation is scheduled for you. Everything is dialed in, getting you from the airport to your appointment, back to the airport. And in many cases, you're still getting access to metal-free and some holistic options. But there are downsides, just like with anything. You do have to travel. Follow-ups are harder if something does go wrong or if something isn't quite right. And if something goes very, very wrong, obviously your legal options are much more limited, as far as I know. So no, it's not for everyone. In my opinion, there are 2 big reasons not to do dental tourism, and they are if you have a very complex medical history, or if you suspect you're going to need more ongoing in-person care. But if cost is the major thing holding you back from getting some much needed dental work done, this can open up some major options for you.